Welcome everybody to a look at another Vinegar Syndrome release. This is actually via the Vinegar Syndrome Labs label, and it is 1966's Castle of Evil. So this is directed by Francis D. Lyon, who also did Cult of the Cobra from 1955, I believe. And this is a horror film clocking in 81 minutes long. Stars the likes of Scott Brady, who would go on to star in the likes of Gremlins, but as well as the likes of Night Strangler, which is one of the Crowcheck films, I think it is, TV film, as well as the likes of China Syndrome and the excellent He Walked by Night. Also stars Virginia Mayo, who I've only seen in one other film, but she was excellent in the likes of White Heat. Also stars David Bryan, who was in The Damned Don't Cry alongside Joan Crawford. And finally, Hugh Marlowe, who was in three really rather good sci-fi films, the last two of which he actually was the lead in. So he was in the likes of The Day the Earth Stood Still, Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, and the rather underrated World Without End. So the relatives of a recently deceased man gather at his eerie mansion before his will can be read, they start being murdered one by one. And that last bit, not really real truthful, to be honest. But that said, I can't say I wholly recommend this, given that it is rather tame in terms of its violence. So yeah, only one person is actually killed on screen that is part of this group of relatives. So yeah, a little bit underwhelming in that regard. It also isn't all that scary, lacks any real tension, and even though the cast does their best, the script is rather lackluster. So yeah, you can see the cast are trying, but the script really isn't supporting their performances all that well. That said, it is well paced. The sets look decent enough. The sci-fi aspect that this has helps to set it apart from other films with a similar setup. So, you can think of likes of House on Haunted Hill, which again has a group of people going to a house that's quite eerie. Obviously, the reason for them being there is a bit different, but it's a group of people that are in a house that is unfamiliar to them at the end of the day. Um, the score is solid. It is well shot. The finale is reasonable, and it has its engaging moments. But yeah, due to its issues that I've stated, I can certainly see why this would receive a less than positive reception by most. I'm obviously a bit more kind and a little bit less, more, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say reasonable because it's not unreasonable to dislike a film, but I'd say just a little bit more open minded in certain regards to what films like this can be like. I've seen many a horror film or sci fi film from the 50s and 60s that I'd say are far worse than this, but many people don't or haven't seen truly bad films from the 50s and 60s. So, yeah, in my kind of context of what I've seen, I can certainly see the positives more in this than the negatives. But yeah, the negatives to this are hard to ignore. Scripts, lack of tension, lack of scares, violence is tame. It doesn't really capitalize on the title at all. Castle of Evil, you'd expect a lot of evil, but there's only a really moderate amount of evil in this. And yeah, and then you look at the back, for instance, which I like, but it again doesn't support what is actually in the film. So it says we have reserved your coffin if you DD while watching. So yeah, funeral expenses guaranteed by a major North American insurance company. DD equals drop dead. I'm sorry, but if the only reason anyone would drop dead from this is if they get too bored by it, which for the first half an hour I can definitely see why. So yeah, it's only a 3 out of 5. I could definitely argue it down to a 2.5 or even a 2, to be honest. But I'm feeling a little bit kind during this spooky season, and yeah, at least it is a film that I don't believe has had a Blu-ray release in the past, and the work that has been actually done on this is actually fairly good. So there's the disc. So it's got the same thing on the back that we've already seen, just with more taglines, I guess you could say. So the Chamber of Horrors lives again. So the makeup effects on that guy are decent, but that's the only really horrifying thing about it. The rest of the film is quite tame. So yeah, it's been newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 35mm original camera negative, and it does look really rather quite great. Um, the new restoration makes it look like one of the like kind of Hammer horror films from the 60s and early 70s in terms of giving it that kind of really lavish color and in-depth color as well. So it at least looks really rather great in terms of this release. It's also got a commentary track with film historians Jonathan Rigby and Kevin Lyons, commentary track with Bill Breer and Ashley Coffin from Bill and Ashley's Terror Theatre podcast, preserving the legacy of Francis D. Line, that clocks at 10 minutes long. That's an interview with Professor Paul V.M. Fletcher at the American Heritage Centre, this reversible sleeve artwork that I've shown you already, and the English subtitles of Deaf and Hard of Hearing. So, yeah, not as good as I was hoping it would be, to be honest. But you live and learn sometimes, and yeah, I don't regret getting it because it is a bit of an odd curiosity, especially with the sci-fi elements to it, which I won't get into because I don't want to spoil it. But there is a sci-fi edge to it in a certain way, and that, like I said, certainly helps set it apart from its contemporaries. But yeah, that's really all that's helping it set apart in any positive element. There's plenty of negatives reasons for why this would set itself apart as well, but it was worth a shot, and I'm glad I gave it a shot regardless. And yeah, even though I didn't love it, it's probably not a film I'm going to sell either, just because it'd be interesting to see what other people make of it if they ever got the chance to see it as well. So yeah, overall a decent film, but not a great one by any means. Nonetheless, so if you have seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.